Hey, welcome to In the Den with Dr. Jenn. Today, we're going to take a look at the diagnosis of sex addiction and see if it's legit. Our sexual fun fact is about fornication and a new Den section called In a Sentence, What's a Guy Have to Say? Stay tuned. Sex addiction. If you follow the news of Hollywood at all, you know that this has become quite a trendy diagnosis, from athletes to movie stars. So what do you think? Is this label real or bullshit? Audience? Real? Oh, fascinating. We got a bullshit. I've been conflicted myself. So today I'm consulting our Den clinical researcher, Jane, to get insights into this fast-growing area of controversy. Good to have you here, Jane.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Jenn. I always appreciate being asked to your show.
So let's dive in, because this is a complicated topic.
Absolutely. I've been digging around this topic recently to learn more, and even attended an expert panel discussion. There's been recent debate about whether sex addiction is a legitimate clinical diagnosis that should be added as its own category to the upcoming DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, Edition 5.
So let's start first with what the standard definition of sex addiction is. And because, my thought is, who's to say who's too much? Who's having too much sex, or what is too much sex?
Good point. It's considered compulsive sexual behavior that has negative outcomes for the individual and their loved ones and interferes with priorities. Specifically regarding the sexual aspect of it, it could involve compulsively searching for partners, compulsive masturbation, or compulsive viewing of pornography.
All right, so a lot of compulsive. What's the controversy? Because, at least from what I've heard, it sounds like a lot of folks have already been diagnosed with this.
Good question. It seems that with the use of a word like addiction, clinicians are using a model based on treating concerns like drugs, alcohol, or gambling. But the research so far on sex addiction is so new, there hasn't been support yet to show that this has enough in common with other addictions. With sexual addiction, there's certainly parallels to, say, drug or alcohol addiction, but some aspects haven't been proven the same, such as genetics, neuroimaging, withdrawal, or tolerance.
Oh, very interesting. So, and those seem to be pretty big factors. Okay, so we're lacking empirical data, but what's wrong with attaching to an established model if it has some similarities?
Yes, well, the concern with that is that all models have their baggages and limitations. So the question becomes, why not borrow some aspects of that treatment and diagnosis model, but otherwise allow for the phenomenon to evolve on its own so we get a truer
That
picture?
Actually sounds like a really good plan. Okay, so what are the underlying causes of this kind of troublesome behavior?
Well, there's a lot of theories on this. Some of the most recent ones that resonate with me are those around early childhood attachment and trauma and affect regulation. So how does someone learn to trust and connect with others? How does someone handle a negative and uncomfortable emotions with healthy self-soothing techniques or potentially destructive patterns? I think also that strict gender roles and the stigmatizing of alternative sexualities could lead people to such destructive sexual paths. Also, access and escape to any type of sexual imagery imaginable on the internet could limit people's creativity and coping skills, ensnare them in online hunting type activities, and make that dopamine hit from sexual anticipation and release even more appealing.
Oh, really interesting. So you've hit a lot of perspectives there. Why do you think we've seen more of this recently?
I'm so glad you asked. To some extent, it seems that this has become popular in Hollywood in an attempt to salvage the reputations of some folks who have been sexually shamed by the media. We tend to believe that someone chose to do something wrong, then it's much worse than if they couldn't help it because it was an addiction. So I believe there's a convenience factor in why this has been growing in popularity.
Well, so what do you think we should do about this?
Well, there's some researchers and clinicians who are using different language instead of sex addiction, such as hypersexual behavior or out of control sexual behavior. This seems to allow more space to treat what the individual is showing up with.
Okay, so it's taking away the language of addiction, but still addressing that the individual is engaging in sexual behavior that feels like too much for them or out of control. So this has been incredibly helpful. Thank you so much, Jane.
Always a pleasure, Dr. Jenn. I think we need to keep talking about controversial topics like this and bringing in critical thinking and open minds.
Absolutely. Sexual fun fact. All right, my question is, how did the word fornication originate? A, forne means sexual intercourse in Latin. B, fornicate was the name of a 16th century English king who was known for his sexual prowess. C, the Bible mentions fornication as a sinful activity between same-sex individuals. Or D, fornix means arch, and Roman prostitutes used to service their clients in the shadows of archways. What do you guys think? Oh shit, we got a lot of D's. Here's a loop coming in, nice, yay! Wasn't that obvious? It's D. It comes from fornix, meaning vault or arch, where Roman streetwalkers did their work. This is a special den section, new one we've never done before, called In a Sentence. What's a guy have to say? So I'm a woman, and that certainly informs how I view topics around sex, intimacy, health, and communication. So I figured maybe it would be interesting to get a guy's opinion on some topics. But to only ask him to say one sentence about it, we want you to say too much. So I'm totally kidding. So here's our man on the street, or I guess man in the den. So man in the den, I'm gonna fire topics at you and ask you to please give your response in one sentence.
All right.
So ready, set, go. Belly button rings.
What are you, 15 years old?
I have one. Fornication.
I think of the Roman word fornix now.
At least somebody listens to my show. Vajazzling.
That's a real thing. I always just figured girls were using their phones as vibrators down there.
Nice. Mutual masturbation.
Oh, come on. We can touch each other.
Making your own home sex movie.
Just don't ask the girl if she wants to watch the one you made with your ex to get you in the mood.
All right, anal sex.
Awesome.
Kittens.
You went from anal sex to kitten.
I live in an interesting world. Sex addiction.
Every guy ever.
Booty calls.
I've got cards for everyone. I'll be there in 10 minutes.
Erotica.
Oh, it's like books?
And the last one, anal bleaching.
Just be easy on it. You don't look like Michael Jackson.
Oh. All right, thank you, man in the den, for your enlightening perspectives. All right, I want to thank you to our live audience for being here to talk about sex and our man in the den. Yay. Oh, it's bad. You can find me online at drjensden.com and on Facebook and Twitter at drjensden. And get in touch with me if you'd like to work with me for some one-on-one counseling in person or via Skype, or are in need of a university speaker on sexuality and gender. Now, don't miss the funny or outrageous outtakes after the credits. And as always, be kind to yourself. So the concept is that we're just going to get, since I'm a woman up here, and that's everything from my view is obviously shaped by that. And Stevie, I've been actually wanting to get on camera for a while because he's a very funny guy. So we'll see if he pulls it out here. God, that was...